Welcome to the Be Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sky Bradshaw, and today we're leaning into one of the most universal truths of life. Everything changes. Some shifts are gentle, others arrive like storms, but all of them hold the possibility of transformation if we're willing to listen. In this episode, Divine Change, Making Way for Sacred Growth, we explore the sacred nature of change, how it can invite us to release what's finished, expand beyond our comfort zones, and discover the opportunity waiting on the other side. What happens when we stop resisting change and start welcoming it as a spiritual teacher? In our Skylight segments, I'll be joined by Kishie Wyatt and Susie Beekman of Radiance Yoga, a community celebrating 10 years of guiding people into presence and growth. Together, we'll reflect on how change itself can become a sacred practice, teaching us to release resistance, trust the unfolding, and discover wholeness in the midst of transformation. We hope this conversation inspires you to pause, breathe, and consider what in your life is shifting right now, and what are you making room for? But before we dive into the Unclouded Heart segment for spiritual messages of wisdom, let's invite ourselves to become present in this moment within our body, mind, and energy. Take a moment to invite yourself to take some deep and cleansing breaths. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, invite your mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe, so we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good, and the highest and best good of all involved, as we open up space to give and receive. Divine change, making way for sacred growth. Change is certain. It will always come. Sometimes welcome, sometimes not. Sometimes disguised as loss, and sometimes dressed as opportunity. You don't get to choose whether life shifts. You only get to choose how you meet it. While change will always happen, growth is not automatic. Growth is a choice. It asks for your participation, for you to be awake, present, and willing to listen to what change is asking of you. Some people spend their lives resisting change, clinging to what has already passed. Others numb themselves and drift, letting change move around them without ever letting it move through them. But when you choose to engage, when you become an active participant, you transform. This is the difference between surviving change and being shaped by it. Growth comes when you ask, what is this moment here to teach me? What do I need to release? What new part of myself am I being invited to step into? And here's the truth. Growth rarely happens in comfort. It asks you to stretch beyond what you've known, to face fears with courage, and to trust that what you are becoming is worth the shedding of what no longer fits. It's not easy work, but it's sacred work. It's the alchemy that turns change into wisdom and endings into beginnings. Change will happen no matter what, but growth is a sacred choice. It rises only when you meet change with bravery, when you lean in instead of turning away, when you choose to participate instead of drifting through. Growth comes when you stand in your truth, even when the ground shakes, and allow the shifting beneath you to become the very soil where your soul takes root. Change may be inevitable, but growth is where your freedom, your power, and your radiance are born. So let this be your invitation. Don't just endure what life brings. Partner with it. Participate in it. Let every ending, every beginning, every shift become fertile ground for your soul to rise stronger, deeper, and more radiant than before. Because change is guaranteed. But making the choice to create growth, that's where your freedom lives.
This episode of Be Your Soul is brought to you by Tarot by Sky, your home away from home for intuitive tarot, energy healing, and spiritual growth. Whether you're seeking clarity through a tarot reading, deep healing with an energy session, or powerful tools to align your energy, Sky Bradshaw offers a range of services designed to support your journey. Looking to deepen your spiritual practice? Sky's classes and courses help you tap into your intuition, understand your energetic boundaries, and manifest with purpose. Plus, with exclusive packages and subscriptions, you can receive ongoing guidance whenever you need it. Step into your power with Tarot by Sky, because it's your future. Visit Tarot by Sky to book a session, explore offerings, and start your journey toward alignment today.
Today, we're talking about divine change, the kind of change that doesn't just shift the details of our lives, but opens up space for sacred growth. I'm joined by two beautiful souls from right here in Greensboro, North Carolina, Kishie Wyatt and Susie Beekman of Radiance Yoga. This month, Radiance is celebrating 10 years of serving the community, a full decade of creating a vibrant hub for transformation, healing, and connection. It's a space where yoga and movement invite a sacred practice of presence, grounding, and growth. Kishie's goal as an instructor is to connect the inner light of each of her students and to provide a space for growth and personal discovery. Susie is passionate about helping others find the balance between a curious, playful spirit and a deep inner connection, which can facilitate expanding into a greater sense of presence and authenticity off and on the mat. Together, they started Radiance from a place of deep longing to create a space to freely express and share their love for yoga and community, holding space for students to embody change in ways that ripple far beyond the studio. Kishie and Susie, thank you so much for being part of the show. It is such an honor to have you on, especially with this 10-year anniversary milestone coming in. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yep, we're excited to be here, Sky.
One of the things that whenever I choose an episode and choose a topic and then invite a guest, I always try and look at how that guest embodies or lives or tunes into the topic of the episode. And, this episode being about sacred change and really turning change into growth and how that expands. And sometimes we engage in it consciously, and then other times it just kind of happens to us. So one of the things that, when I was thinking of you guys coming together as a great example of this was not only the 10 years, but just what you've built in community. And so from your years of guiding students on the mat and in that general community, what practices do you think help people shift from change happening to them and growth happening for them?
This is Kishie. Well, so Susie and I are so blessed, of course, that we are able to live a lot of our lives immersed in the practices of yoga. And we get to watch what happens when people start on the path or maybe just re-begin their journey in a new or different way. And I mean, yoga just inherently causes change. Wouldn't you agree with that, Susie?
Absolutely.
Like, inherently, when someone starts showing up on their mat, so they're first of all, they're starting by making a promise and a commitment to themselves. Then they're making a promise and a commitment to their breath. Then you're making a promise and a commitment to a community. Like the promise and commitments keep going and going, and inevitably it's going to start to color and seep into your outer life. Sometimes those changes are really positive, and sometimes they're actually extremely uncomfortable because you start seeing how your outer world is no longer maybe mirroring what you're feeling in your inner world. And we've seen that happen. I mean, it's happened to us, of course, and we've also seen it multiple times, again and again, with our students. And it's just so important that they know that this is a part, or that we all know this is a part of the process. And I mean, hello, we're not special as yogis. Change is everywhere. Right? It's not like, oh. And two of the tenets of yoga that really kind of resonate with this topic that we're talking about is aparigraha, which means non-clinging, right? So of course that's non-clinging. That is something to learn to help us navigate through change. And then is svadhyaya. Svadhyaya is looking within and that inner knowing and that just learning to watch yourself. And so I think with yoga, you start to become the witness, right? Because you're the witness while you're on the mat. And then out in the outer world, that witness is like, oh, you woke me up and I'm paying attention. And there's just this deep knowing, and that inner witness will start talking to you.
Love it.
Susie, do you want to add anything?
Yes, aparigraha, came forward for me too, that practice of non-attachment. And I think with change, the feeling that often accompanies that is uncertainty, which can be quite uncomfortable, and I think that the practices of yoga really give us the opportunity to step into uncertainty instead of letting it be a place of fear, letting it be an opportunity for possibility. Because that aparigraha is that attachment to what we picture our future to look like, or what we expect our present to be like, or how we want to feel, or how we want to look, or how we want to be, but that willingness to step away from that control and open yourself to something that could be even greater than what you could imagine. And, those are huge, huge concepts, but it starts with that daily practice, on the mat and watching where little bits of uncertainty in a posture and a breath or in shifting your thought pattern can begin to translate off of the mat.
And I think there's like a certain percentage of what happens in those spaces is also connected to self-trust, because you're working with yourself in such deep ways, the going inward, the non-control of the outcome. And we know that the more self-trust that we have, then the more ability we have to kind of lean into those spaces of witness, lean into that letting be as it is sort of energy. And it creates a space to build your self-trust in ways that sometimes is harder off the mat or harder in those other places, because you're kind of experimenting with it. But there you're inviting self-trust into those spaces and inviting it into to build, those practices in that way. So I think that's a really beautiful way of looking at it. And in that self-trust space, then sometimes what that also invites, I think, is a natural pace for growth and change. Like it allows for things to come forward a little bit more naturally compared to forced or controlling, because we know the opposite of trust is control. And so do you guys have wisdom about that, about that, building of trust and the wisdom that trusting divine timing brings when it comes to sacred change or sacred growth?
This is Susie. I'll take this one. Timing is just another one of those things that is so much about our control of what we think our timeline is supposed to look like, what we're supposed to accomplish when. And I think the magic really lies in that unknown, and the deviations of that path and of that timing that create different connections and different opportunities and different possibilities along the way that ultimately form into this picture once again, which is beyond what you can think. But it's hard to be patient in that time. And I think that the yoga practice, both the physical asana, the meditation practice, breath practice, I mean, it teaches you patience. You can't shove yourself into certain postures and walk out of it easily. You have to work. You have to work. Everything has to work together in alignment to get to those depths of places. And it's a practice of listening and honoring and taking one step forward and pausing and listening and honoring. But yes, it takes a lot of patience for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you're forced to change, right, Susie?
Yes. Yep.
And let me tell you, that is not fun. I'm like, wait, this is not divine timing, I'm pretty sure. Susie and I got to experience that together in our partnership when COVID hit. And all of a sudden, we had to shut down the studio. But we still had all of these beautiful students in this community that we felt such a need to keep together. Just because, I mean, when things were, I'll say, normal, Radiance was such a sanctuary for people. I was like, and Susie and I were like, gosh, well, now we need Radiance more than ever. And she's got to show up. We call her a she. She's got her own little persona now. Radiance Yoga, the studio has got to absolutely change the way she shows up for people. And there was a lot of despair. I mean, my inner child was throwing a temper tantrum. I think Susie's was too, because they were throwing tantrums together. But the beauty is too, even when you do have to kind of force change or force to change, wow, that is the alchemy that happens. And that is boots on the ground training. And, I know it's so awesome when we can say, oh, change is all about divine timing and going with the flow. But sometimes being forced to change is one of the most awesome things that can happen to make you grow as an individual.
Absolutely. And I think, to me, there has to be a level of uncomfortableness, or we just kind of lull into that, it's working, I'm just going to keep doing it. And so not that that was a necessary uncomfortableness, but I think a lot of uncomfortablenesses that we get into are motivators, they're catalysts, and they create space in that. And, using that uncomfortableness, I just went and did a training in Woodstock, and my teacher said all week, he kept saying, if you allow it, every experience can be an opportunity. And I was like, yes, okay. Like, doesn't mean I'm going to like it, but I certainly can see it as an opportunity. But you guys also worked in divine timing for something really exciting that's coming up. So do you want to talk about your exciting new offering that you're going to be bringing that really worked through divine timing through both of you?
Sure. So, Susie, I'll start. When we started Radiance Yoga, we met with a consultant who also owned a yoga studio, and we just met with her for I think 2 or 3 hours at a coffee shop. And she really gave us some phenomenal advice. And then I remember I asked her the question, or maybe Susie asked her, what about a yoga teacher training program? And this particular yoga teacher, studio owner, she said, you absolutely cannot be financially viable if you do not have a teacher training program. And then so Susie and I were like, okay, we've got to do this eventually. And then we kept saying oh, we're not ready. And I kept having self-doubt, I'm not good enough to lead other teachers yet. I still need to have more experience, just always questioning. And then, but I knew that when Susie and I were both ready, that it would just wash over us and it would be a big yes. And let me also add that Susie and I both have 3 children. And Susie and I, when we entered into agreement together about owning a business together, I love this, Susie, our partnership. What we said is that the very thing that comes first is our friendship. But even before our friendship is number one, our connection with God, divine spirit source, whatever resonates with whoever's listening. And then number 2, our families. So that's first, then our friendship, then the business. And that has served us so well. And so we've been sitting with it. And finally, we're both like, we're ready. We're going to lead a yoga teacher training for 200 hours. And we were just at this point in life where we don't feel like it'll take away from our families and that we can really give to our students and lead in a very heartfelt way. We're going to call it Radiance Yoga, YTT, Leading with Love. And there's going to be a huge focus on compassion practices, which ironically, we wrote this programming during the pandemic when we had, I forgot what we called our program. Do you remember what we called it? Oh, Abiding in Compassion.
Oh, good girl. Good recall.
Yes, I love when my brain works. Yeah, and we've already written tons of unique compassion meditations, and that's just what we're going to weave all throughout this 200-hour training. It's going to start in September 2026, and it will run for about 9 months. We haven't solidified our exact dates yet, but it will most likely meet 1 or 2 weekends per month. So, Susie, I hope I didn't talk too much. What would you like to add to that?
No, it's perfect. And, just kind of reiterating what Kishie has said, it's just been such a gift having that value system and just knowing that piece, that trust piece between the two of us, that if it wasn't right for one, it wasn't right for both. And there was just purely love and understanding in that. And I just think that that has been imperative in keeping us connected to Radiance and letting, not burning out and, wanting to sustain and continue to grow. But it is true. Our families have been, really busy and the priority for a long time. So we've had to put a few things on the wayside, immersions, certain trainings, and then of course the YTT. But we feel like our time is now. And, we just have had a lot of experience. And I just think that it's going to be a really unique and deep and rich offering that we're able to offer at this time and space. And we're so excited for the connections that it's going to forge and the growth and expansion that it's going to be for Radiance and for the entirety of the Greensboro community.
Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of integration before propagation. And so getting it in your world and living it and being connected to it before you reproduce, I think it's what turns knowledge into wisdom. And, you guys have been such a force for 10 years in the community. So it can't but help be amazing when it comes out. So I'm really excited.
Thank you, Sky. That means a lot.
Absolutely. So every episode, I ask the guests 3 questions. And so I'll get both of you to answer these little questions, but I like to kind of have everyone to get kind of a vision of how different people feel so they can relate and connect in that way. So the first question is, what do you think it means to be your soul?
Susie first.
Sure. Well, to me, I think that your soul is your truest, most authentic, purest piece of you. And so to be your soul is when you are living in that space, which I think feels like freedom. And I think it feels like sacred flow, where there's not a lot of resistance. It just feels like that place of divine sacred flow.
I love that, Susie.
I love that too.
So, how when you hear someone, a great teacher speaking and they say something and it just resonates through your whole being and you're like, and it just, it's truth, right? We hear so many untruths and we know those, we can feel them. But then when a truth hits you, it's like, bam. And so I love Richard Rohr. I don't know if I know, Susie, that you know him. Yes, Sky,
I
you know him.
definitely know
Okay.
Richard Rohr. I love him.
I love him. And you know who else loves him is Oprah Winfrey. And she was interviewing him on her, I guess is it called Super Soul Sunday? And she said, okay, when you're meditating, or maybe it was when you're in prayer, how do you know when you've made that connection? And they've actually both started talking about it and dialoguing about it. And what they came to is that you feel this huge yes inside. That's when you have connected to the divine. And for me, the divine and soul go hand in hand. And so when I'm connected to soul, spirit, it just feels like a huge yes. And it is so strong, it pulsates to the whole being, and it touches not only me, but whoever may be around me. And it's magical. And I'm delighted to say that quite often it does happen at the yoga studio.
Oh, I love that too.
Yeah, good.
So, what's one self-care practice that each of you do every day or regularly?
Kish, you want to take the lead?
Sure. So this is self-care, and it really is more about the way I move out into the world. So I also, in addition to owning Radiance, I have a corporate job where I do a lot of socializing and a lot of face-to-face conversations, and realizing that when we're connecting with other beings, that it is an incredible opportunity for spirit connection, right? Light to light connection, and being as good of a listener as I can possibly be. And that means turning off that mind, that churning mind's like, well, what am I going to say next? Or, oh my gosh, wait, what is she wearing? Just that mental chatter, and learning to guide that and just stare into the eyes of this person that's talking to me and just feel that, like we say in yoga, the divine light within me bows to and honors the divine light within you, and just keeping that going. And you know what? It's for me, actually. It might, you could say it's for the other person, and hopefully they do feel it if they're open to it. But ultimately, it's for me, because then I come home at the end of the day. And if I've stayed on track, I've had a lot of beautiful little connections throughout the day.
Nice.
And if you've been in Kishie's presence and in conversation, you felt that. She
Aw.
is such an intentional, just lead with heart self. It's a gift if you know her. So for me, my self-care practices, well, there are many. I need a lot, y'all, to stay sane. But I would say the through line that has been consistent for most of my life is physicality and movement. And I'm not so regimented that it looks the same every day or is even at the same time every day. But I know that I am my best self and my most embodied and connected self when I have had some physical movement. It's the way I process, it's the way I connect to spirit. It's just the way I feel most embodied and grounded. If I can do it outside, that's an extra bonus. And so I try to do that as much as possible and try not to have tons of attachment around it, just something that excites me and feels great in my body. Doesn't have to look a particular way.
Nice. So that kind of leads into the next question, if you just want to take it and run, because the next question is about how you know when you're centered and balanced. So it might connect to that.
Yeah, totally. I think when I am centered and balanced, I go back to that feeling of sacred flow where you just feel like connected to spirit, like the obstacles are removing, like you just feel spacious and fluid and harmonious. I really value space in my life, like not to feel overly constricted or scheduled or expectations. It's a value of mine. And so when I feel truly centered and balanced, I feel really free and spacious.
I like spacious. I'm going to meditate on that.
Spacious. Me too. Bring it on. So I don't feel like I'm centered and balanced much, if I'm honest. Which is why I do yoga and meditate and breath work. No, I'm teasing, but you know how it is when, and I know Susie, you'll understand this when, like, so Susie says her thing is physicality, which she has a beautiful, beautiful yoga practice. But like, that's probably when you feel the most centered and balanced. For me, when I feel the most centered and balanced is when I've had space to meditate and do an amazing pranayama practice. And let's face it, y'all, that's not happening all the time. And so, centered and balanced for me is actually feeling still content if I can't get to do those things. And that becomes a part of the journey, is like not being overly attached. Oh, it has a name for it. It's like spiritual materialism, right? Isn't that what spiritual materialism is? Right? Where we're so addicted to those practices, but when we're not doing them, we're absolutely miserable and we can't function.
Right.
So it's interesting to watch that because, I wish that I could say that just in my day-to-day interactions and even when I'm having those divine moments, hey, I would feel even way better if I were sitting by myself doing my meditation and pranayama all by myself in my own little space connected to God and spirit. So that's just, being completely truthful there.
Right.
But, the beauty is once you have felt those places is you do learn the importance of taking threads of them. It's never going to be perfect. Into your day-to-day activities and into all of your responsibilities, into blah, blah, blah. The list could go on and on and on.
I call it monk in an airport. Like, like if I can be a monk in an airport, then I'm good,
Exactly.
my spiritual papa said, like, the more things you put between you and God are the more things between you and God. And so if you pay attention to like having to have a specific thing in order to feel that connection, then that's another layer of energy between you and that thing. So that throughput, that direct focus, I joke and tell everybody, monk in an airport. That's what I'm trying
I love
to
it. Yes.
I'll get one of you to let us know how to find you by saying your website, because I think it's important. And then the other of you can let us know about the celebration that is coming up. That will be right after the release of this podcast.
Woohoo!
Well, you can find us. Our website is www.radianceyogagreensboro.com, which is about to get a big refresh here soon, by the way, too. But that's where you can check us out for class schedules and all of the things. And then our Instagram is at Radiance Yoga Greensboro, and Facebook is the same.
And then on Sunday, September 21st, from around 6 to 7 p.m., we're going to be having a studio blessing. Everybody is invited. We want to get as many beautiful bodies in that space as possible in the studio that we call the Tree House, which was the original studio. And we are going to be chanting together and maybe doing some toasts. I don't know. We haven't completely ironed it out yet. We're trusting divine timing that the inspiration is going to come.
Absolutely. Well, I hope I get to be there.
We would love it, Sky. Yay!
Yes. And thank you guys so much for stepping into this space and sharing the light of your journey. To celebrate 10 years in community is to celebrate a decade of sacred change, moments of challenge, transition, and renewal that you have consistently transformed into growth, healing, and possibility. Your presence has been such a steady reminder that change does not have to break us. It can shape us, stretch us, and strengthen us into something even more whole. The gift of your work over these years has touched countless lives, and it's an honor to shine the light on that of truth here today. Thank you so much for being here. This was so great.
Thank you, Sky. We are honored. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, dear listeners, for being with us in this celebration. Your willingness to pause, reflect, and honor not only your own journey, but also the journeys of those around you is what makes this space sacred. May you carry forward the reminder that every change holds the seeds of growth. And when we choose to grow together, we create ripples that extend far beyond ourselves.
This episode of Be Your Soul is brought to you by Little Energies, a beautiful collection of chakra-aligned tools designed to help children connect with their emotions, energy, and intuition. Created by Sky Bradshaw, Little Energies makes self-awareness fun and accessible through books, journals, and oracle cards that empower kids to understand their own energy in a simple, engaging way. These tools provide a gentle, supportive way to introduce mindfulness, emotional balance, and energetic boundaries to the little ones in your life. With the Little Energies Bundle Pack, kids can explore their inner world with confidence and curiosity. Give the gift of self-awareness and energetic wellness. Visit littleenergies.com to explore the full collection and bring balance to the next generation.
This is a practice I found helpful in my work, and maybe you will too. Let's take a few moments to honor the way change moves through us and becomes growth. Every shift we face, whether gentle or difficult, carries the potential to shape us into something more whole. This meditation will invite you to connect with the places within you where change takes root, one at a time, so you can feel their truth and welcome them as opportunities for growth. When you return to this practice again and again, it becomes easier to trust the shifts you encounter, to see the growth they hold, and to walk through life with balance and clarity. So let's begin. Find a comfortable position, seated or lying down. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose and let out long breaths through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Now gently place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. This gesture invites connection between the center of your body and the center of your love. As you rest into this posture, begin to notice and welcome each piece of yourself that makes up your wholeness. Begin by bringing your awareness to the base of your being. Breathe into the part of you that longs for safety, stability, and belonging. Change can feel unsettling, but even in shifting ground, new roots can grow strong. Notice how this part of you steadies your steps and reminds you that you are supported. Whisper to yourself, I am safe. I am strong. I can grow through change. Next, bring your awareness to the flow of your inner self. Change stirs feelings and sparks new possibilities. Feel how this part of you invites play, color, and movement into your life, keeping you connected to joy. Breathe here and affirm. I allow change to move through me. I create beauty from what it brings. Now turn your awareness to the fire at your core. Change can challenge who you think you are, yet it also sharpens resilience. Feel the strength in this place, reminding you that growth often requires courage and clarity. Say to yourself, through change, I discover my true strength. I grow into who I am becoming. Then bring your awareness to your heart. Change can open or close us, but when welcomed, it expands compassion. Notice how this part of you reaches outward and inward at once, teaching you to love without losing yourself. Whisper, change softens me into greater love. I grow in connection to myself and others. Shift your awareness to your center of truth. Change often calls for new words and new ways of expression. Feel how this part of you rises with honesty, asking you to be heard and to share what is real. Affirm. Change gives me new language. My voice grows stronger and clearer through it. Slowly turn your focus to your awareness of your inner sight. Change can blur our vision, but it can also deepen wisdom. Notice how this part of you clears space for perspective, helping you see both the moment and the larger unfolding. Say, through change, my insight grows clearer. I walk with wisdom and trust my vision. Bring your awareness to the crown of your being. Every change is part of the larger unfolding, guiding you into wholeness. Feel how this part of you lifts towards the greater light, reminding you that you are a part of something vast and unbreakable. Affirm, I am whole. Every change carries me closer to truth. Now, take a deep, steady breath, inviting light to flow through every part you've just honored. As you exhale, feel these parts softening into one another, weaving together the fullness of who you are. The many energies within you are not separate. They are threads, and together they form one beautiful tapestry, complete, whole, and alive within you. Rest here for a few breaths, sensing how it feels to live in your wholeness, supported by every part of yourself. Allow this awareness to settle gently into your body and spirit, becoming a truth you can return to whenever you need it. Gently begin to bring yourself back. Notice your body resting where you are. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Take one more cleansing breath. Allow yourself to come back to this moment in time, back to this place and space, whole, healed, connected, and at one with your truth. Carry this awareness with you. Each time you return to this practice, you strengthen not only the individual parts of yourself, but also the whole of your being. You remember that every fragment belongs, and together they form the beautiful wholeness of you. May you be well. May you grow through change. May you be whole. May you feel blessed. And may you always be your soul.
If this practice stirred something within you, perhaps a quiet recognition, a gentle softening, or simply the sense that you want to go deeper, we invite you to explore more at beyoursoul.org. There you'll find our YouTube offerings, podcast episodes, guest insights, and the full Be Your Soul classroom, all created to support you in turning change into growth. When you're ready to continue the journey beyond this episode, we'll be there to walk with you.